this connection of politics and education really came home to me because I was, by that time, also quite deeply involved in anti-war activities. I was very active in something called Resist, which was a support group for draft resistors. Well, a lot of our money actually came from Ben Spock's speaking tours. He would go 1 month a year, every second month he would go on a speaking tour on campuses, and all the money that he earned from those fees came to Resist, or came to a legal branch of Civil Liberties Legal Defense Fund that I was also a member of. And I would go out and do talks for them every once in a while around the country. The number one person they always wanted was Noam Chomsky, and the number two person was a guy named Louis Kampf who taught at MIT and was very active. And number three was me, so I didn't have a lot of talks, but I had some. But I also sometimes went on to do workshops in teacher centers and for school systems. So what I learned very quickly was I would go out and I'd do a workshop in the morning and the afternoon in some teacher center, often in an old classroom, school building that had been turned into one of these places where they kept materials for the students and had workshops where teachers could build with Tri-Wall. I noticed somebody mentioned Tri-Wall yesterday. That wonderful cardboard that we use to build all sorts of things in classrooms, or introduce them to ESS units about physics or life sciences. And when I was there, I would see on the walls the poster for announcing that in some local church there was an anti-war rally that night, and the speaker would be George Hein. And then when I went to that rally, of course, the people who were in the audience were the same teachers that I had been working with during the day. So I really came home to me that this progressive activity that we're engaged in, which I was gradually learning was traditional progressive education transformed in its modern version, also had carried with it, but had always been part of the progressive agenda, a political message about democracy, social justice, and the concern that we had in the direction that the country was going in. So the two got very much intertwined in my work, and I felt it was intertwined in the work of our colleagues at the Children's Museum and other institutions. The whole idea that your thoughts don't really have meaning until you put them into action was so powerful for the political work that we were doing. I mean, we weren't just sort of opposed to the war. It didn't mean anything to be opposed to the war unless you were engaged in some sort of action about it. And that might be as slight, although it wasn't slight for many people, as signing a petition. I quickly learned that you couldn't push people, and that some of them had very good reasons from their past, from their experience, to resist any kind of engagement. Two, of course, it went all the way to people who did various civil disobedience acts, were put in jail. But the same principles really applied also to our work, that our ideas about what education might be like, or what kids could learn from doing things and becoming engaged, didn't mean anything until we created the experiences that the kids could have. And I mean, I think I learned the connection between those, and especially the connection to what Dewey says much later. Yeah. But that idea that you really haven't gotten anywhere until you've put your thoughts, your ideas into action, into experiences, they get their meaning through that engagement in actual work. Was very much part of that sort of ESS strategy that we used constantly.